Why your parents compare you to other students and what it does to your brain. Priya got 94. What happened to you? You know that sentence. Maybe the name is different. Maybe it's your cousin, your neighbor's son, the kid from the other school. But the sentence? You know. And in the moment it lands, something happens inside you. Not anger, not motivation, something quieter, something that closes. Today, I want to show you exactly what that something is and why it's more important than the grade itself. By the end of this conversation, you're going to understand one thing clearly. When your parents compare you to other student, they're not motivating you. Neurologically, physiologically, or even psychologically, they are doing the opposite. And I'm not saying that to criticize your parents, they are doing what they believe works, what was done to them, what the culture around them says is normal. But the science, it tells a different story. And once you hear it, you will never experience that comparison the same way again. You'll understand why the comparison shuts something down rather than switching something on. You'll understand why the harder they push, the more you pull away. And most importantly, you'll understand that what happens in your brain in that moment is not weakness. It is a documented, predictable neurological response. Stay with me through the third part, especially, because that's where the insight most students never reach actually lives. I want to tell you about Nadia. Nadia is a grade 11 student, IB Year 1. She genuinely cares about school, not because anyone forces her to, but because she always has. She sits her November mock for chemistry. It doesn't go the way she hoped. She gets a 68. Now, not failing, not even bad, by most standards, but below what she knows she's capable of. She comes home, she tells her father, he looks at the paper, and then he says, Arden from your class told his parents he got 81. He studies every evening. You need to start taking that more seriously. He walks away. And Nadia stands in the kitchen, not crying, not angry, just still. Something has happened in that moment, something she can't quite name. She goes to her room, she opens her chemistry textbook. She stares at it for 40 minutes. She doesn't read a single page. She closes it, goes to sleep. The next morning, the thought of chemistry carries a weight. It's heavier than it was before. Before the results, the subject felt like a challenge she could rise to. Now it feels like evidence of something she doesn't want to examine too closely. She doesn't work less because she's lazy. She works less because working hard and failing again would confirm something she's not ready to confirm. And every time her father mentions Aryan, every time the comparison returns, that weight gets a little heavier. By March, chemistry is the subject Nadia avoids most. She used to love it. What students and parents think is happening. That is what most parents believe they are doing when they compare. They believe they are showing their child what is possible. They believe the comparison creates a target, it creates a benchmark, a reason to try harder. If Aryan can do it, so can you. On the surface, that logic sounds reasonable. And if you ask Nadia's father why he said what he said, he would tell you he said it because he believes in her, because he wants more for her than she is currently giving herself. He's not wrong about the intention, he's wrong about the mechanism. Because the message Nadia's brain received was not "you can do better." The message her brain received was something entirely different. And here's where most people stop the conversation. They say, parents mean well, just ignore it and focus. But that advice misses what actually happening inside Nadia's brain. Completely. What's actually happening psychologically and neurologically. Here is where it gets interesting. Your brain has a threat detection system. It's ancient, it evolved long before school existed. Its job is simple: identify threats, respond immediately. When a physical threat appears, a predator, a danger, the system floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Blood moves to your muscles. Your heart rate rises. Your body prepares to fight or run. This is the stress response. Now, here's what most students don't know. Your brain cannot distinguish between a physical threat and a social threat. Being chased by a predator and being told, "Aryan got 81, what happened to you?" activate the system, not metaphorically, neurologically. When Nadia heard that comparison, her brain registered it as a threat, specifically as shame. And shame is one of the most powerful threat signals the human brain produces. Because shame is not just about this moment. Shame says there is something wrong with you, not with your performance, with you. And the moment shame activates the threat response, something critical happens. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus, planning, problem solving, and academic performance, goes offline. Partially, not completely. But enough. The cognitive resources Nadia needs to understand thermodynamics, to write a clear IA argument, to attempt a difficult problem, those resources are being rerouted. They are being used to manage the threat. Most students miss this. They think the impact of comparison is emotional, that it hurts your feeling temporarily and then you move on. But the impact is cognitive. The comparison literally reduces your brain's capacity to perform the thing you are being compared about. This isn't a theory. This is documented across decades of research in educational psychology and neuroscience. The comparison intended to improve performance is neurologically making performance harder, and it gets worse. The realization most students and most parents never reach. There is a second mechanism operating underneath the first. It's called psychological reactance. Here's what it means. When a person feels their autonomy is being threatened, when they feel pushed, controlled, or judged, they instinctively push back. Not consciously, not as a choice. It's automatic, protective. The harder you push someone towards a behavior, the more the brain generates resistance to that behavior. Because the brain needs to defend its sense of agency. This is why Nadia's motivation to study chemistry decreases after the comparison. Not because she stopped caring about chemistry, but because chemistry became associated with external control, with judgment, with a standard she didn't choose and cannot win. Studying chemistry now means entering a territory where she will be measured against Aryan, where she might confirm what the comparison implied. where the effort itself becomes dangerous. So the brain does what it always does when something feels dangerous. It avoids it. It's not weakness. This is one of the most predictable psychological responses in human behavior. And here is the insight I want you to hold. The students who designate after certain comparison, the ones who stop trying, who become indifferent, who seem to give up, are almost never giving up on learning. They are giving up on a version of learning that made them feel like they were never going to be enough. That is a completely different thing. Nadia didn't stop caring about chemistry. She stopped being willing to care. In an environment where caring and failing meant hearing about Aryan again, her brain made a rational decision to protect her, and it cost her a subject she loved. So, here is what I want you to carry from this: the comparison doesn't just hurt your feelings, it changes your brain chemistry, it activates your threat system, it partially shuts down the cognitive function you need to perform, and it triggers a protective resistance towards the very subject, the very effort, the very goal that the comparison was meant to push you toward. The parent who says Priya got 94 is not a villain. They are using a tool they were given by their parents, by their culture, that the science now tells us is broken. And you're not weak for responding to it the way you do. You are a human. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. Here is the one thing I want you to remember: shame has never built a student, it has only ever dismantled one. If you have felt this, you're not alone. And if nobody in your life has given you the language for it before today, that's exactly why this channel exists. Join the Lumino community, link below. This is a space for students who want to understand, not just want to study, but what is actually happening inside them while they study. Next time, we are going to talk about something connected to this: why some students, the ones who seem to have everything together, secretly stop trying. Not because they don't care, but because trying hard and failing feels more dangerous than not trying at all. That one will change how you see the students around you. See you there.